Are you getting ready to take the Praxis Economics exam? This is test code 5911. If this is a test that you need to pass, then I think I can help. My name is Bob, and I'm a test prep expert with Study.com. In this video, I am going to help you by walking you through the information that you need to know to feel confident and prepared on exam day. We are going to review everything that is on the test, how to prepare, and 5 top tips so that you will be successful. Let's get started. Praxis 5911 is tailored for individuals planning to teach economics at the high school level. This test assesses the essential knowledge, skills, and abilities required for effective teaching in the field of economics. The examination covers 3 primary areas: fundamental economic concepts, about 22 questions and 20% of the exam; microeconomics, about 49 questions and 45% of the exam; and macroeconomics, about 39 questions and 35% of the exam. Its content principally derives from the voluntary national standards in economics, which were formulated by the Council for Economic Education to guide those creating economics curricula and teaching the subject. Be sure to check out our channel for videos that go into a lot more detail for each topic and subtopic. In these videos, test prep experts review sample problems step by step so you will have a better understanding of the types of questions you can expect to find on the actual exam. How many questions? There are 110 multiple choice questions. Most questions have a single correct answer. Some questions will have 2 or more correct answers amongst the options. You can identify these by the phrase "select all that apply." And here is where I want to give you the first 2 of my top test-taking tips, which are: 1, to read each question thoroughly, and 2, to read through all answer options before making your final decision. The easiest way to make a careless mistake is to misread the question or choose the first answer that looks right. Make sure you thoroughly understand what is being asked and have considered each answer choice before selecting an answer. Here's an example. A is possibly correct. The government does collect taxes in the circular flow model, but B is the correct answer because it shows how the government takes in revenue and how it redistributes it. If you are working too quickly, it could be easy to misread the answers and select the A instead of B. How long is the test? You have 2 hours or 120 minutes to complete the test. This means you have 65 seconds per question, and this is where I want to give you the first of my top tips, which is to aim for 50 to 55 seconds per question, which will give you a buffer for questions that may require more thought. Plus, it will leave you with time to review at the end. Top tip number 4, avoid overthinking questions you are unsure about. Move on so you don't lose time. How is the test delivered? You'll be taking this test on a computer. You can sit the exam at a test center or at home with online proctoring. There may be some questions on the exam that will not be counted in your final score, but you won't know if the questions count or not, so just assume that every question counts. This brings me to my final top tip, which is to watch your time. The best way to ensure you stay on target is to do time practice. This will help you get used to how long you have for each question. The questions on the test will establish whether you are familiar with major economic theories, whether you have the necessary knowledge in all content areas, as well as their interconnectivity, and if you could teach this content in a classroom. As mentioned, there are 3 main areas on the exam. Let's delve into each of these categories more closely. These descriptions are not exhaustive. Further information on every topic covered is available in the Study.com course. The first category is fundamental economic concepts. You will be tested on basic economic principles such as scarcity, choice, and opportunity costs, along with your ability to analyze production factors. Your skills in applying marginal cost and benefit analysis, understanding economic growth and efficiency using the production possibilities curve, and grasping trade advantages will be assessed. The exam also covers your knowledge of different economic systems, market interactions between consumers, businesses, and government, and your proficiency in interpreting charts and graphs. Here's an example. The next category is microeconomics. Microeconomics covers a lot of subtopics. First, supply and demand. You will be tested on your understanding of market principles, demand and supply laws, and price impacts on quantity demanded. You need to differentiate between individual and market demand and firm and market supply. Additionally, you'll analyze how supply and demand determine equilibrium, the effects of price on resource allocation, and market responses to economic changes in government policies. You'll also demonstrate knowledge of price elasticity, its impact on revenue, and basic utility concepts, including diminishing marginal utility. The next subtopic is product market. You will be assessed on your understanding of the relationships between revenue, costs, and profits, the law of diminishing returns, and how changes in productivity and input prices affect cost. You'll also need to know about long-term cost behaviors, economies of scale, and how firms maximize profits where marginal cost meets marginal revenue. Additionally, you will explore the fundamentals of market structures, including perfect competition, monopolies, oligopolies, and monopolistic competition, as well as the reasons firms enter or exit markets. Finally, you will review different business organizational structures and their efficiencies. Third, factor markets. Your understanding of how wages and employment levels are determined in competitive labor markets will be evaluated. The last microeconomics subtopic is government policy and regulation of markets. You will be evaluated on your grasp of the challenges created by externalities and the measures governments can take to address them, the issues associated with public goods, and the reasons private markets do not supply them, and how antitrust laws support competitive market conditions. Additionally, you will be tested on the various forms of taxation and their differences, as well as the functions of regulatory agencies. Here's an example of a typical microeconomics question. The final category is macroeconomics, which also has several subtopics. First, economic performance and fluctuations. You will be assessed on your understanding of GDP and living standards, differences between nominal and real economic values, and the measurement and impacts of unemployment and inflation. Additionally, you'll need to demonstrate knowledge of economic growth factors, the relationship between savings and growth, business cycle phase, and the components of aggregate demand. You will also be evaluated on identifying short-run versus long-run aggregate supply and using the aggregate demand supply model to determine equilibrium prices and output levels. Money and banking in the Federal Reserve System. Your assessment will cover your understanding of money's roles and different metrics of money supply, how banks generate money, the organization and roles of the Federal Reserve System, and how the Federal Reserve employs monetary policy tools. You'll also be tested on the factors influencing money demand, the purpose of financial markets, the primary types of investment instruments, and using the supply and demand model for money to find the equilibrium interest rate. Fiscal and monetary policies. You will be assessed on your understanding of government budget surpluses, deficits, and their impact on national debt, along with the effective changes in government spending and taxation. Your knowledge of fiscal and monetary policy tools, their impact on aggregate supply and demand, and their use in addressing unemployment and inflation will also be tested. Additionally, you'll need to understand the economy's adjustment to long-run equilibrium in the absence of policy changes, the effectiveness and limitations of stabilization policies, the concepts of full employment and natural unemployment rates, and the trade-offs between unemployment and inflation in both short and long terms. Macroeconomics of the open economy. You need to show an understanding of the advantages and disadvantages of free international trade, the impact of government policies, and how the equilibrium exchange rate is established. Additionally, you should know the consequences of currency appreciation or depreciation on exports and imports. Here's an example of a typical macroeconomics question from the money and banking subtopic. That is a lot to cover, so how do you prepare? We recommend starting with a full-length practice test. Study.com's test prep course offers several. In this way, you can identify your strengths and weaknesses so you know where to focus the most time. Don't worry about your scores on this initial test. It's simply to assess what you need to work on. If you're using Study.com, you'll receive an individualized study plan after you take the diagnostic. If you do use other test prep methods, you will likely have to do the analysis of your practice test manually. Watch Study.com's lessons and do practice problems to review the topics in your study plan. My top tips for studying is really just 2 steps that you should repeat again and again. Review and practice, review and practice. And as a reminder, here are my 5 top tips when taking the test. 1. Read the questions thoroughly. Underline keywords if you find that helpful. 2. Read all the answers before choosing your answers. Cross out the ones you know are incorrect to save time if you skip to the next one. 3. Aim for 50 to 55 seconds per question. This gives you a buffer for questions that may require more thought plus time to review at the end. 4. Overthinking questions you are unsure about. Move on to the next question so you don't lose time overall. You can always go back. 5. Watch your time. If you are looking for solid test prep in order to understand the skills and content on the exam, as well as the structure of the actual exam, then Study.com offers an excellent Praxis 5911 Economics Test Prep course, and I highly recommend it. The course covers everything that I've summarized here, and it goes into far greater detail. This course is written and vetted by teachers and experts and includes short-form videos for every relevant concept. Additionally, there's a bank of high-quality practice questions with detailed answers included. Most importantly, there's a 92% pass rate for those who have completed the course. With that said, I hope I was able to give you a good idea of the concepts and theories you can expect to find on the actual exam. If this video helped you, please check out some of the other videos in this and other series for more Praxis test prep. Please like and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you won't miss any new videos when they drop. If there are any specific tests or questions that you would like us to review, please let us know in the comments below, and we will get to them as soon as possible. Finally, once you've passed Praxis 5911, please leave a note in the comments so we can all celebrate your success. Good luck.